Hello, friends. I'm Kush Khandelwal, and this is Ageless Athlete. A few years ago, I started asking questions that would not leave me alone. Why do some people keep pushing mentally, physically, spiritually long after others burn out or break down? What does it really mean to age well when you still crave movement, meaning, and mastery? This show is my search for answers. Each week, I talk to elite athletes, everyday adventurers, and pioneering researchers who are stretching the limits of what's possible across age, injury, illness, and self doubt. You will hear hard won lessons, untold stories, and science backed strategies for building a body and mindset that lasts. For those of us joining for the first time, welcome to the show. For the rest, thank you for joining us again. Time is our most valuable asset, and I deeply appreciate you giving me your time today.
Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff in the Rockies. Below you, rocks, trees, snow. No clear path, just possibility. You hear the crowd roar behind you, but it is just noise now. You breathe, you drop in. This was Wendy Fisher's world. First as a World Cup downhill racer for the US ski team, then as a pioneer of big mountain free skiing at a time when few women were dropping cliffs or starring in ski films. But this isn't an episode about adrenaline, it's about identity. Wendy retired from elite ski racing in her early 20s, burned out, battling an eating disorder, and quietly unraveling inside a system that prized performance over well being. And just as she was ready to walk away from skiing entirely, she stumbled into a new world, free skiing, where joy returned, camaraderie thrived, and she finally felt like herself again. In this episode, we talk about what it means to reinvent yourself, not once, but many times. We explore how athletes navigate burnout, body image, and self worth when the cheering stops. We hear how Wendy went from chasing perfection to embracing play, and we unpack what ageless looks like when you are 53, still skiing hard, DJing weddings, raising two athletes' sons, and finding new ways to keep moving forward. Not to prove anything, but just because it feels good. If you have ever struggled with letting go of an older version of yourself, or wondered how to keep showing up with curiosity, courage, and energy as you age, listen on.
Hey, I am in Crested View, Colorado, and this is where my full-time residence. And so for breakfast a few hours ago, I started with a cappuccino that I made. And then usually I move into fresh squeezed orange juice that I make every day. And then I guess it just depends on how hungry I get when I start eating breakfast. But I did have an English muffin. A lot of times I do make bacon. But I'm kind of a grazer, so I don't really sit down and have a big breakfast anymore.
You seem like somebody who cares about their breakfast. You make your own cappuccino, so this is not just, a simple drip coffee like I do. And then you also squeeze your orange juice, and this happens on a regular basis. Or were you just getting ready for this podcast?
No, every day I make fresh squeezed orange juice.
Oh, I love it.
I hate fake juice. I don't buy any of the juices at the store. When I go to restaurants and it says fresh orange juice, I'll be like, is it fresh squeezed? And it's just funny how some people just don't know the difference between fresh and fresh from concentrate. But they will serve me a fresh from concentrate. I'm like, this is not fresh squeezed. And I don't even really like 2-day-old fresh squeezed orange juice because it does change. The flavor just starts to go away, that freshness, and it starts to get tangy. So my grandmother used to do fresh squeezed orange juice, and my dad would bring cases of oranges home. He only was home on the weekends. He would drive from San Francisco to Lake Tahoe, which is where I grew up. And along the drive, he'd pick up a case of oranges, and then we would have fresh squeezed oranges or cut oranges in the kitchen and just eat oranges. So then as my kids started getting older, I started introducing the fresh squeeze again. And I pretty much do it religiously every day. I don't like taking, like I take vitamins, I do collagen powder, and I don't like taking that with water. And I don't like drinking my vitamins with my coffee either. So the best way to get it down is with some fresh squeezed orange juice.
I love it. And yeah, thanks for sharing on how this is perhaps paying paying homage to this time honored tradition that you have had with your family, which is yeah, this legacy of fresh squeezed orange juice that you had growing up, and now you have passed on to your family as well. Maybe this is like a little insight into how you might be as a person overall. I usually like to ask next, which is who are you, and what do you do? And I know that it's not a simple answer in your case because you wear lots of hats, but I will let you speak.
I mean, I'm first and foremost a skier. I still ski a lot. That's been my foundation of many, I guess, my career up until this point, and it's changed shapes or images of what type of skier I am. But first a ski racer, was part of the U.S. ski team, went to the '92 Winter Olympics in Albertville, France. Then when I left my ski racing career, I got into big mountain skiing and did a lot of filming with Matchstick Productions and Warren Miller. And so I was in that realm for a really long time, and have done some other films, short films along the way. And, then got into camps and teaching. And so now in Crested Butte, I became the ambassador of the resort here for 18 years, did my own private lessons. And then Vail came in, and I still can teach here. So I guess I'm now a Vail employee, but because Vail has purchased Crested Butte. So I do private lessons here, or, I can do private lessons anywhere that is an epic resort. So that, I guess, has been my trail. And, I've always maintained this skier identity and been able to make an income from the sport. But I've also drifted off into speaking and DJing. So I became a local DJ here about 10 years ago because I love dancing, and my girlfriend we wanted to have dance parties. So we started getting that going, which then morphed into being a wedding DJ. So I do tons of events. Crested Butte is a very beautiful place. So a lot of people come here to get married. And I'm one of the main DJs in the Valley who does weddings specifically. So
Ah,
I get a pretty full summer for that. And then we have a hotel at the base of the resort, and they have hired me to be their music manager. So now I book music, and we are kind of the zone in the wintertime for après skiing, where I'll hire DJs to play out on the patio and get dance parties going. And then inside, I hire musicians to play inside the lobby. So that's, elevation hotel and right at the base of the resort. So yeah, I have a bunch of different things going on, and I do events. My best friend's an event planner, so in the summer I'm very busy doing events for weddings and nonprofits. Typical ski town life, where you live in a ski town and you're just busy all over making ends meet. And I like moving. I have a hard time sitting still. I don't like the thought of having a real office job is terrifying to me. So if I can stay busy and run around, I'd rather be on my feet from 8 in the morning until midnight than sitting on my butt from 9 to 5.
fair enough. That's amazing, Wendy. Well, I can see you are an entrepreneur in many ways beyond being an athlete, and I love this twist with being a DJ and managing music and related events. Let me ask you this: What does music bring into your life that's different from sport?
I don't know how different it is from sport. I would say I kind of got into DJing because it was when I started having my kids. So I wasn't able to travel for skiing as much anymore. My career got put on hold and I needed an outlet, and an outlet of just exerting energy. Of course, I worked out and stuff, but the thrill of going on a run or a bike ride just didn't have the same, I guess, allure or um, nervousness as getting on a ski slope and doing a ski line for film or something. And so I think after I had my first son, I was just itching to be adventurous in a new way. And honestly, starting to DJ in front of, whether it's 20 people or 200 at an event, it's very nerve wracking. I can't sleep the night before. I get stressed about whether they're going to like my music, if all the equipment's going to work. So there has this kind of this nervous energy that I think I miss by not putting myself out there in the ski world. I mean, eventually I did start filming again for skiing and stuff, but I definitely put my career on hold. And I think I just needed kind of this outlet to put myself, I don't want to say I'm an attention getter or need attention, but when you're filming and you do ski films, you are the center of attention for that line, and then it gets put up on film. And so then when you get out DJing, you are the center of everyone's attention, and you're kind of creating the mood and vibe for everyone. And so I think it was just a new and different outlet. I do love dancing. I like that freedom. And when you meet with friends who love dancing too, that just is such a fun energy. Uh, so yeah, it was really cool. And Crested Buttes a very small town. So whether you know me or not, a lot of people know of me as a skier. But now there's this new generation here because I am older. They know me as the DJ and music planner of the hotel here. So it's kind of
Oh, wow.
two different identities. But yeah, so I don't know if it totally was different than skiing. I just think it was a replacement that I needed at the time, when I had to stay home and be, I don't want to say locked down, but just I didn't travel as much, and I needed an outlet.
That's so great. Wendy, I'll confess that I don't know enough about the kind of skiing that you do.
Mhm.
I I've lived in San Francisco for like 2 decades, right next to Tahoe, and I haven't spent enough time going to Tahoe in the winter or skiing myself. And I suspect many of our listeners may not also understand your sport specifically. I'm sure some of them have seen you on TV in some of those movies, and also have heard or followed your career through the Olympics. But can you help us understand what you are best known for from the world of skiing?
Yeah, I would say I'm best known for my big mountain skiing. And back when I started doing it, it was called extreme skiing. Uh, but it's been, the name has been changed, big mountain skiing or free ride skiing. And so, yeah, when I left the US ski team, when I left my racing career, I was still pretty young. I was 24. And my life up until that point had been skiing. And, of course, I thought about like after skiing, what am I going to do with my life? But when 24 came and I realized my racing career was over, I, there was a part of me is like, wow, I just spent my whole life up to now because I started skiing when I was 2, but really racing when I was 5. And, you're thrown into sports at a young age. And I was like, wow, it's such a bummer that it's over. Like I've learned so much about this sport. I, have gotten to a very high level and now I'm done. I was not looking to be a ski instructor at that age. And yes, now I do teach, but I had to really mature into that thought and desire. And I wasn't ready. So there was a part of me that just felt like, I wouldn't say a waste of time of putting all that time and energy into skiing, but it just felt like a, a bummer way to go. Then accidentally, I was on a road trip to never ski again because I just didn't see a future in it. I was unhappy. So I wanted to go on a road trip just to travel around different resorts, have fun skiing one last winter, and then I wanted to get into mountain bike racing. So I was an avid biker. I loved biking and working out, and that seemed like the next path. But on my journey to never ski again, I ended up in Crested Butte, Colorado, which I now live in. And there's a extreme skiing contest going on, and I got talked into entering it, and it changed my world. It just the energy, the liveliness, ski racing just became so serious, which, it is a business. And for sure, I wanted to be one of the top skiers, but I didn't understand the mentality of becoming a top athlete, which was, I don't want to say cutthroat, but, it's pretty serious when you're on the top of the pyramid trying to become the best. Your team becomes smaller of who's traveling around together, and you're not traveling with your friends. Of course, maybe you try to have friends, but in the end, it's one for all and all for one. And that atmosphere was not conducive to my personality. So when I got into big mountain skiing, and it was so new, the sport was so new that I flourished in it, and we were all doing it together to try to build this new sport that was unknown, and which was big mountain skiing is where you have a platform on a ski run, and they judges will they block it off, and so you can ski in an area, and it's basically up to your interpretation of how you want to ski that line. And it usually involves some pretty technical terrain, so it's just not like perfect, nice turns sinking all the way down. You're looking for obstacles, you're looking for trees, chutes, airs to make your ski line very interesting to the judges and the audience. And you hopefully ski it pretty flawlessly so that you get scored well. So it's you have 4 to 5 judges judging on you on a multiple of categories. But what it comes down to is, hopefully skiing a pretty challenging line that you can perfect and ski it within a certain amount of time, and then you get judged on that. And when I got into the sport, not a lot of girls were doing it, and not a lot of girls were pushing it to the edge. So when I got introduced to it and saw that opening to be a little bit more aggressive, take airs, jump cliffs, that's what I became known for. For the women kind of transferring, I mean, there's women before me who were skiing awesome and brought the level to here, and then when I came in, I saw an opening to take the level here. And now, of
Ah,
course, there's other girls who are taking it here. So I guess I was just one of the stepping blocks of that transformation of big mountain skiing for women. And so I definitely feel honored to um, have that, I guess, notch in my ski career.
I've been thinking a lot about energy, not just in training, but in recovery, in focus, in how we age. So when I came across NutriSense, it hit home. It's a program that pairs a 24 by 7 glucose biosensor with a dedicated dietitian to help you understand how your body responds to food, stress, sleep, and movement, and then act on the data. I chose it because I wanted something real, not another hack or one size fits all plan, just honest insight into what's actually going on inside me and how to build habits that last. NutriSense has helped over 150,000 people take that step. And if you want to try it, you can get 33% off your first month with code Ageless15 at nutrisense.io. Again, that's nutrisense.io, code Ageless15. You can also find this information on the show notes for this episode. Wendy, I'll have to actually ask you about this.
Mhm.
You, quote unquote, retired from professional ski racing at the age of 24, if
Mhm.
I heard that correctly. So that sounds quite young. Was that typical? for ski racers back in the day? And I'm also curious, has that also changed in current day ski racing? Has that, are people still retiring in their early 20s?
Yeah, I mean, it was earlier than I was hoping. You know, when I made the ski team, I was, I think, 15, and I really thought I was going to be on the team much longer. But during that time, it was rare if you kept ski racing at 30. So if you were a ski racer at 30, and I remember there were a few, we just thought they were so old. Um, but now, I mean, you see ski racers, they're into their 40s, and it's not that big of a deal. If you can keep up the performance and your health, limited injuries, you should be able to keep it together. And so, yeah, I mean, actually, I might have quit a little sooner. I think I got into big mountain skiing at 24. So I might have even been like 22, 23 when I left.
Wow.
And I would say, yes, it was early. I think I definitely physically had way more years. Mentally, no. I left the ski team very depressed, very down and out. I could not have mentally survived the US ski team any more than I did. And of course, I've had many years to reflect why that was, what happened in my career, and I've come to terms with it and peace over my challenges, which is in all athletic fields. You know, there's only a handful of athletes that are going to make it to the tippy top, and with lots of success. And you see that with the Lindsey Vonn or a Michaela. You see that they are in there the most. Of course, there are other athletes getting in there here and there, but not to the level of the career that they've had. So yes, I had some career highlights, but and I went to peace with, when I left the ski team, the reasons why. It took me a long time to get over it because, yes, I wanted a more successful career than what I did have. The saving grace was is I found this whole new career that I was not even looking for, and that totally revived me and made me a completely different person and skier. And it felt actually more me. When I got into the big mountain world of free skiing, I was like, oh, this is so much more me than the ski racing. So the ski racing was a great platform. And for me, you don't have to be a ski racer to be a big mountain skier. But for me, when I entered into it at that time, I was pretty much the highest level female skier ever to get into big mountain skiing. Even men. I mean, there was not an Olympic skier yet who was jumping into the big mountain ski world. So I kind of entered that first, and the confidence that I had from my background is really what held me to be a strong big mountain skier. Knowing that I had so much technical training, I knew I was one of the best skiers out there. So when I saw guys jumping cliffs and guys doing really gnarly shoots and tight terrain and with exposure, I knew that I had more technical foundation than them, and I should be able to do that as well. So that was my mental thought. Like, I deserve to be here. I have all the technical capabilities and skills to be able to ski what they're doing. So why shouldn't I push myself to that level?
So badass. I'm guessing that you left I guess the ski racing world, the professional side, at maybe the peak of your powers, early 20s. And it sounds like that was a voluntary decision, that you were, whatever, you were burnt out, you were not finding the joy in that space. Just, yeah, just staying there for a second, was that also typical for that time, that people in ski racing would hang up their skis
Mhm.
at that age? Was that typical, or like you or people looked at you with, eyebrows raised and be like, oh my goodness, she is at the top and she's walking away?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say eyebrows are raised because I was going through a lot of mental issues. So I almost feel like it wasn't a surprise. I mean, yeah, I was on the World Cup level, but I was fastly declining. And like you said, I was not having, the love and passion and fun. So fun was a big word for me, which that was one of the things that I discovered when I left ski racing um, years later was my decline in the sport was there was no more fun. I climbed the level that I got to because I loved the sport and I did it purely out of because I loved it and it was fun and it's all I knew and I was just brought up that way and there's some deeper meaning behind also why I skied raced but ultimately I could not it was yeah it just became a dark place and so yeah I mean I guess I left at a normal time. There are other athletes who left around that same age. I think maybe your young 20s is where you kind of feel the flip. But now it's different. I mean, girls, now you can delay the time you made the ski team and you can even make it later, like make the team at 22, go to college first. There are a few changes or different strategies of making the team. But normally, girls make the team at a young age, younger than boys, because we mature sooner and all that other kind of stuff. So making it at 15, 16 is not abnormal. And then by the time you're 23, you're 22, you're already on the ski team for quite a long time. But hopefully, you're getting to the World Cup level by that age. And if you're not, then it means maybe it's time to think of something else. But if you are at the World Cup level at that age, then yeah, you would keep going. So I was at the World Cup level at that age, 22, 23 when I left. But like I said, I just didn't have the mental capacity to keep it going. So it was a choice to leave the team. Um, and yeah, I walked away. And when I did, I had a talk with one of my coaches. I said, I'm just, I'm having nightmares at night. I am depressed all the time. So it was agreed that I needed time off. And I was an athlete that never got hurt. So there's also that side of it. A lot of athletes blow out their knees, they break limbs, they have to take time off, and back then, knee surgeries were months long or half a season long, or you completely miss a season. I never missed a dryland camp. I never missed a ski camp. I never missed a race my whole career. So I think I hit this burnout stage, and rather than blow out my knee, which I know people, might hear this is crazy, but I kind of wish I had an injury so that
Gosh.
I would have been couched. I would have my body relaxed, my mind relaxed. Maybe I would get this hungriness to get back out there because of this injury. And it just I got into instead an eating disorder. I started overtraining. I just built on all these negative things in my life that maybe if I was forced to have time off, I could have recovered. But because I was never forced to have time off, even though I was told to have time off, I was not physically impaired. So to me, that meant I was lazy, impaired. So
Gosh.
then I'm not going to be a strong athlete. And what athlete is lazy? And so I really just think I needed a break. And I just kind of hit a breaking point that I had to walk away from because of my state of mind.
Friends, it means a lot that you're here. I pour a ton of heart into the show. The research, the interviews, the editing, it's all me, trying to share stories that matter. If Ageless Athlete has ever made you feel seen, inspired you, or just kept you company on a long drive, or better, over a run or a bike ride, I would be so grateful if you considered supporting it. Even a small amount helps keep it going, helps keep bringing the show to you for free. You can chip in at buymeacoffee.com/agelessathlete. Again, buymeacoffee.com/agelessathlete. You can find the link on the show notes as well. Thank you for listening and for being part of this. Yes, I can only imagine the amount of stamina you had and the stamina it takes to be not the physical stamina necessarily, but just the mental stamina
Mhm.
to be pushing yourself from that early an age continuously. So, yeah, I mean, even if somebody, let's say, did not have a physical injury or did not go through the other, let's say, mental situations we went through, at some point, one just wants to just not do it. Like
Mhm.
just the grueling nature of training and competing. Like, I'm sure one day people are like, you wake up and you might be like, gosh, this is like way too much. I don't feel like yeah, I don't feel like going out in the cold at like 4:30 or 5 a.m. for whatever type of training is
Well, I
is on
did.
the script.
I did. I wanted to go out 4 a.m. in the morning because I had a mental issue of that I needed to work out. It was a need.
Wow.
It was a obsession that if I didn't do it, then mentally I would be, I guess, at a loss. So that's like an eating, workout disorder where I felt like if I didn't work out enough, I was going to gain a lot of weight. I was going to be out of shape. So it's an obsession that built up so much that it became unhealthy rather than having a healthy relationship with the workout and the process, having more time off, being okay with time off. So I left the ski team I loved showing up for training. I loved whether it was ski training, dryland training. Um, so I was mentally all in for that. It was more the social aspect, being very competitive with the girls who you travel in vans with, the girls who you roommate with, the girls who you have you're working out with, having dinner with. The U.S. ski team is a team, but it's an individual sport. So unless you are
Mm.
like Michaela or Bodie Miller, a top athlete who can have their own entourage and afford to pay to be separate from the team, that's that's one way of doing it, but you got to really get to that level. And back in my era, if you branched off away like that, it was very, very frowned upon. So you put yourself in an atmosphere where I don't want to say it was catty all the time. I mean, my teammates were fine. I talk with them now, a bunch of teammates, and we were all going through this mental weirdness, but we never talked about it because of our age and we weren't as open. I mean, when you become in your 40s and 50s, you just become way more open about your life and things that you reflect on and you're like, "Oh my god, we were all kind of going through the same thing, but none of us talked about it." So what was going on with me was just a lot of personal identity issues that got taken over, and I was trying to solve those issues by trying to work out a lot, eat little. I was trying to make myself feel better in that atmosphere because mentally I was drowning. So yeah, so I needed to walk away for my mental health.
Sure. Yeah, I can now see that maybe that exercise and the insane discipline that you
Mhm.
had to follow was almost like a like life support, like that allowed you to function because you could like just kind of, you know, just put all your effort into that.
Mhm.
Or maybe sometimes maybe almost in a robotic way,
Yep.
because the other reality around you was so challenging. And I can only imagine, like, you're out there with your teammates, and yes, you are sharing so many things, but you're also kind of gunning for each other
Mhm.
because you have to win. That's kind of like your career as an athlete, is to try to win. And yeah, it sounds like it creates, I guess, not the healthiest of conflict between your teammates, but then also within you, because you have to try to resolve that, and also at that young age. And I'm guessing this probably gets, yeah, you probably see that in other sports as well. What I think is also interesting about maybe these niche sports like ours, like these outdoor sports, you also have to be so intrinsically motivated. Like there's not a huge amount of cash money, or I don't know where the sport is now, but maybe back then I'm guessing that yes, the fire has to come from within, and if you stop feeling that fire, you have to, you have to kind of try to walk away. So Wendy, you walked away, um, and you talk about like how you got into the maybe back then extreme skiing, and now big mountain, and how that was such maybe so reviving for you, like it was being able to use your, so yeah, can you talk a little bit about like how the kind of liberation you felt, and how that allowed you to maybe even heal from some of the internal challenges that you were going through?
Yeah, I remember my first contest. Again, it was here in Crested Butte, and back then we had two runs. And before the contest, people were showing me some of the different ski lines because usually it's a it's a multi-day event, and you're trying to accumulate points from the first day to the end. It's changed now, but back then that's how it was. And so I had two runs, and people showed me, days before, Wendy, this is one of the venues. This is where the girls ski. So they showed me the line that all the girls most likely would ski, and someone was telling me I needed to ski prettier and more upright because I was too racer. So first run comes, and I do my run. I ski where all the girls did. It was fine. I just skied down the run. I think I hit a little jump. And then the other girls came down. They all skied in the same zone. And then I ran into a friend who I grew up with, Shane McConkey, which a lot of people in the ski world or base jumping world or just, sports in general probably have heard about Shane. And he was at the base of the skier, and I ran into him, and we start chit chatting, and the guys start to come. And so I'm watching, and I'd never seen a contest before. So literally, this is the first time I'm watching a contest is after my first run. And all the guys start coming down, totally different zone than the girls, really ratty, rocky, gnarly, gross. Not something you would typically just gravitate to. Um, and they're skiing tight lines. They were hitting jumps, catching air, doing all stuff. And that's when, I saw their technique. A lot of them were skiing in a way that I thought was, obviously not trained like me. And I looked at Shane, I was like, oh my God, I'm a better skier than that guy. Can I do that line? And then another person came down and did something else. And I'm like, Shane, can I do that? And all these guys just kept coming down. And I kept asking Shane the same question. He just kept saying, yes, yes, yes. So finally he had to go for his run, and we talked about the line that I was going to do. So second run, all the girls went back into their same zone. And when it was my run, I just went fall line from the start, which was directly above all the gnarly terrain that the guys are skiing. And as I started heading that way, back then the contest had hundreds of supporters with their kegs, lounge chairs, music, barbecue. Like everyone's just there to watch all the, these athletes do crazy stuff. And so as I'm skiing down, suddenly everybody, the audience starts just roaring and screaming, and I can hear them. And I was just like, oh my God. And I get to this edge where it's mandatory air that I lined myself up to jump off this cliff. And, you should, back then I was able to pause for a second. Now today, if you're to pause on a cliff, you get docked points. But I paused for a second and I just took it all in because everybody was going crazy. And then I hit the air, I stuck my line, I skied down to the bottom, and just everyone surrounded me. And they're like, we've never seen a girl do this before. And I was just like, oh, here's my new thing. I just remember thinking,
Wow.
this is amazing. This feeling's amazing. I just was feeling so down and out about life, what I was going to do. And I still wasn't thinking that I was going to get into big mountain skiing, but it just lifted me up so much. Shane came to me and he's like, and I won the run by a ton, but then Shane came to me, he's like, Wendy, you need to keep doing this. You need to keep doing these contests. And I said, no, Shane, I'm on a road trip to never ski again. Um, this was great, but I'm moving on from skiing. And then a few days after the contest, it just hit me. I was like, I'm going to go do the rest of the contest. So I drove back out to Tahoe because there was a contest in Kirkwood, a contest in Squaw. I won those, flew up to Alaska for what was called the World Extreme Skiing Championships back then, won that, got picked up by sponsors again. Matchstick asked to film me. And so it just kind of snowballed to I didn't give up skiing, kept skiing, and just gave me a whole new outlook on life. It just definitely felt more like me, just the camaraderie around the whole sport. Guys and girls traveled together. The guys really supported us. Girls supported each other. It was a rebirth of a new sport, a rebirth of me. So it just definitely was a transition at the time. It was just perfect transition to move on to something else. And skiing was my whole life up to that point, and it just felt great to be able to use my skills in a whole new way. And so then, even by my former teammates on the U.S. ski team, everyone started seeing me branch off into this new sport, and it made me feel good about myself that I took, took the situation and I transformed into a new sport and was involved with the progression of this new sport.
Yeah, and also maybe good for the world of skiing and maybe professional sports at large that you didn't completely walk away because you uh, pioneered this wave of excellence in big mountain skiing
Mhm.
that may not have happened had you not been there at that time. Quick question, we spoke about this conflicted type of camaraderie from the world of ski racing, and now you're doing big mountain uh, events. But sounds like you're still competing with your fellow athletes. But then there was the bonding was different. Can you talk about like how that was different, even though it sounds like you were still competing with the people you were traveling with or seeing at all these events all the time?
Yeah, well, I had no coaches, so friends were coaches. My boyfriend was my coach. It was just even leaving the ski team. Another conflict that I had was my B team coach. When you make the U.S. ski team, this A team, B team, C team. So my B team coach was great. He would really build me up. He understood me mentally. It's a sport that you don't get to pick your own coach. Again, Michaela does, and Lindsay probably does. But for the other mass majority of us, you're assigned coaches. The U.S. ski team hires coaches. So you leave your program, you're named to the U.S. ski team, and you might not always get along with the coaches that the ski team picks for you to have. So I have a B team coach. He's great. He knew me inside and out. He knew when I was skiing bad, he would come to me and just could pull it out of me. Then I got moved up to the A team, and that coach just coached different, didn't really give a shit. Totally different energy. And that affects you mentally when you're out there. You already feel alone because you don't feel like you can talk to your teammates all the time. And now you have a coach that doesn't communicate the same way as the coach that just elevated you to this next level. So when I was traveling with Big Mountain, we were just with friends, and I didn't have to room with anyone if I didn't want to. I had a travel budget for my ski team. You have a friend, you're like, hey, we're going to go up to Whistler for that contest. Do you need a condo? Like, should we go in a condo together? Or maybe I just get a hotel by myself. I can get my own rental car. I don't have to drive with anyone if I don't want to. Um, so it was a much more freedom. You got to control your own aura or the people surround you. Not to say that there were some girls that we were very competitive in the big mountain. It did get intense at times, but never to the same degree as it was as a ski racer. And so, yeah, there's just so much more freedom and support for sure. I was at one contest where I was looking at a line, and right from the start, it was mandatory air. And I was looking over it, and this girl walks over, And she looks over my shoulder, and I'm kind of bummed because I don't want her to see the line that I'm looking at. I don't want her to ski my same line. And so she looked over and she's like, if there's any girl who can do it, it's you. And then,
Oh,
and I was like, oh my God, did she just say something nice to me? I was like, wow, that was amazing. And I did do that line and I did win the contest, but it was in that era, it was just really cool. You know, people were supporting each other because it was just still a new frontier in that sport. It doesn't mean that I lost my obsession of working out and my eating issues. That still took years to let go, but being in this new sport that I started feeling better about myself, I started to get happy again. It was eventually I was able to start letting go of the need and necessity to work out 3 times a day. I was able to start introducing like fat and other foods into my diet was that would make me feel sick or I had fear of eating because of the mental state I was in. So slowly being happy and in this new venue and atmosphere, it was, and then, I had a boyfriend who cared and loved me and took care of me. And so, slowly I was adding on these new positives in my life that I, I was gradually getting rid of the negative hangups that I built up when I was really unhappy.
Hello, friends. Just a quick break. This is not an ad. If you have been enjoying these conversations, I would love for you to subscribe to my newsletter. It is where I go deeper, sharing stories, reflections, and behind the scenes insights that don't always make it into the podcast. I write about what I'm learning from elite athletes and how to stay ageless in body and mind. If you have ever wanted a thoughtful, inspiring read that ties it all together training, aging, mindset, and awe. You will love this. You can find the link in the show notes or just head to agelessathlete.co. Again, www.agelessathlete.co, that is, to sign up. And yeah, just a couple of emails a month, and you can unsubscribe anytime. Absolutely no spam ever. Okay, back to the show.
excellent. I'm curious, this element of like this maybe competition that is different between ski racing and then this like free skiing or big. I just wonder if the opportunities to succeed change because it sounds like in ski racing, there's the world seems binary. Like you either won the event or you didn't win the event. You either made the team or you did not make the team. So maybe that also brings out that that ferocity between like teammates. But maybe in this new world that you're part of, maybe there were different ways to succeed. You are going to different events, so there are different events. If you take part in, you could maybe, even if you lost in something, you won somewhere else. And maybe there were other ways to also make a career through, let's say, ski movies,
Mhm.
like you did. Can you talk for a minute about how your livelihood also changed? Like, I can see that there is this pressure as a young athlete to succeed because maybe you are at your athletic prime when you're competing, and maybe one feels that, hey, I have to make my mark, because once I'm out, I don't have the same options anymore. So can you speak a little bit about how that shifted for you as well?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, yes, ski racing is unique and great in one way where it's a clean on how you become successful. It's the clock. You can't argue it, you can't dispute it, and yes, like you said, there's a time period. And I even talk to my kids; they're both athletes, and trying to keep their nose clean of mischief and stuff during a certain period of their lives. And I'm like, you have a time period. You have 10 years to make your mark, maybe a little bit more. But then ski racing, yeah, like, you get into your mid 30s, which is not, there's just a small percentage that are still racing in mid 30s, but they are. But then, yeah, then you're moving on. Then you have to figure out your next chapter of your life. So, yeah, I left ski racing, and then free skiing, big mountain skiing. That is that's an endless career, right? It is. There's so many avenues. People came up to me afterwards, girls like, Wendy, and they were former racers who just want to keep skiing and do something. And like, Wendy, how do we get into it? And I'm like, I have no idea. You have to follow your heart, because also skier cross was being developed. I did the first women's skier cross in 1998 here in Crested Butte. So that was another avenue to start breaking out of ski racing and have a different career. I didn't really like that avenue. I stuck with Big Mountain. I liked helicopter skiing. I liked filming. That became my platform. There's some skiers who then just became mostly skiers who did ski covers and would go with ski magazines and have stories written on travels that they would do with friends. I did do some of that, but definitely my focus became, after getting success from the big mountain career and getting noticed from those competitions, I got noticed by Matchstick Productions and Warren Miller and other ski movie. And so when I was given money by ski companies, because now I'm getting picked up and sponsored and making money, I would choose how I wanted to spend that money. And I chose it with the focus of ski films. And so luckily, I was able to get in with these different film companies and be one of their female skiers. So yeah, the after ski life, and you're seeing it now. I mean, there are so many skiers who, whether it's Ted Ligety or Peekaboo Street, or all these different athletes who, after a ski racing career, you can still tap into all these different avenues. And whether it's becoming a ski instructor, really focused at a high level, like Deb Armstrong. So there became just such a bigger platform that was opened up in that era that I got into, because the ski industry was so closed-minded that they thought ski racing is the end all be all. And that's how you make a mark, as you being a good skier, and a skier that has a lot of respect, or you give a lot of respect to. Because when I started telling ski companies I was getting a big mountain skiing, they were like, oh yeah, I mean, they're okay skiers. It wasn't looked at to the same high level. And then now, you could be a big mountain skier in the films and just given so much respect, just as much respect as a ski racer. And now you have park skiing and all just so much different platforms. So there is your own canvas. You can be an artist and you have a canvas, and you can make yourself any type of skier you want, as long as people enjoy watching you and they like your personality and enjoy watching the journey as well. So there's just really so many opportunities. And so I know that was one area of question you're getting into, and I think I might have drifted off the main thing you wanted. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to get a sense of, like, when you are a competitive ski racer,
Mhm.
are you getting paid by the competitions or by the ski teams? Like, how does I get a sense? I think I understand how you uh, you succeed in free skiing or big mountain skiing, or because you're kind of an entrepreneur, right? It's
Yeah.
like the people you're working with and the path you take and how you get paid based on, like, sort of your creativity, your success. But, like, when you're competing, are they paying you for winning back in the day? Like, how does that happen?
Yeah. So yeah, as a ski racer, you were allowed to have ski sponsors. And if you did a certain level of success, you would get paid. But up until 1991, athletes, ski racers were amateurs, and they still are, but you were not allowed to get paid. So in 1991 was the era of I think the dream team was going to be in the next Olympics, and they were all professional NBA basketball players who were all paid. So that changed the dynamic of the Olympic amateur status of not being able to be in the Olympics. So let me go back. You weren't allowed to be in the Olympics if you were a paid athlete, but we were paid with ski company contracts, which were kind of like, I wouldn't say hidden from the Olympic umbrella, but we were not allowed to make prize money until 92, the dream team, because they were all making tons of money. So that kind of was like, well, why aren't we making money? So they started introducing prize money into ski racing at that time. And so I
Sorry,
actually
by dream team, are you talking about like,
NBA
sorry, was it the basketball, the NBA? Oh, of course, yes. Okay, yeah, that was pivotal.
so they were entering the realm of Olympics, which is they're making gobs of money. But here,
Yeah,
runners, not us runners, but runners and skiers and like all those amateur sports that have been in the Olympics for so long, you weren't allowed to make money. That's amateur. So, but then in 1991 is when they started to allow prize money at ski events. So that's how you make your money. Obviously, you see ski racers, they have a headgear sponsor. They're making money from that sponsor, endorsements, all that stuff. So big mountain skiing, again, we do make it from our ski companies. You could probably also have endorsements from like Wheaties if you wanted or something like that. And then there was prize money. It was very small though. I did not do big mountain skiing at all for the money. I did it for peace of mind. So when I would go to events, people would ask me, Wendy, how much money would you win if you won today? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't even know there's prize money. I am doing this because I am a different person. I'd love, like, just traveling around with all these great people because you would still go free ski around, maybe do some filming. It was just it was just a way of life that was making me happy, and that was setting
like
precedence over the financial gain.
sure. How are you supporting yourself though?
Well, I was getting money from ski companies, so yes,
Ah,
I was getting great from Smith back at the time. Solomon picked me up at the time, so I was getting a travel budget and a retainer. And for sure, I tried to get a decent contract out of that. But again, that just snowballed. It snowballed because that was the way the sport was going. And so if you wanted me on their product, they were they're offering me money. So of course I'm going to say yes. But I wasn't necessarily doing any contests because of the prize money. It was just fun. And
yeah, it was bigger. I mean, you were getting the return seemed like more profound than any kind of prize money. I mean, it sounded like it was allowing you to rediscover yourself, heal yourself in this new way. One thing I wanted to ask you, Wendy, you were a barrier breaker. Like you helped usher in like maybe this era of like big mountain skiing. You did these like novel things that were not being done before. And you spoke off earlier about how Shane McConkey, I mean, totally tragic about him. Like maybe he was maybe one reason why you found the confidence. But I sense that you also have this maybe, I don't know, deeper conviction or self belief that you can go out there and do really hard things. And I'm curious, have you always been like that? Like since you were like, I don't know, a young person, a little girl, have you uh, have you did you also have that in other aspects of your life, like whether it's studies or somewhere else, where you just had this quiet conviction, confidence that you could do these things that were very difficult?
um, in athletics, yeah. School, no. So yeah, you go back to what was I like as a kid to be, my drive is not traditional or what made me really get into the sport was my family, my dad, my mom, they moved my two older brothers and I to Lake Tahoe because my oldest brother, Mark, wanted to ski. And my parents would take us up there on the weekends. So we became weekend warriors. And then he just wanted to ski all the time. He told my parents that teachers told my parents that he actually improved in school during the winter. So my parents moved us up to Tahoe and we became a skiing family. We went to Squaw or Palisades. We became part of the Squaw Valley ski team. So that was our life. And I don't remember deciding to be a skier. It was just kind of what we were here to do. And unfortunately, my oldest brother passed away in a ski accident at 13. I was 7, and it was a day skiing with the Squaw Valley ski team. And I skied up to him. And at that age, it dawned on me that I realized he was dead. And so there's a kind of hidden drive also, which is, I think, why in my ski racing career I had a lot of mental trauma, not trauma, but just some mental things going on because I associated my skiing career, my life to my brother a lot because he did not get to keep skiing. He did not get to have this career or, lifestyle that we moved to Tahoe for. So that drove me a lot. My parents, my dad told me a story that his parents told him that my other brother Craig and I should not ski anymore after my brother's death. And my dad told me that if Mark was to have died crossing the street and got hit by a car, would he then not let us walk across the street again? He said, no, we are skiers and Craig and Wendy are going to keep skiing. And so that was pushed into me. So I never had any downtime. I never had any time to reflect that this is something that I shouldn't be doing. If anything, I might have put more energy into it because it was our life. I don't know. So I definitely had this other willpower of live life to the fullest. I did not become afraid after the incident. If anything, it just taught me to just keep moving forward and do what you love at all costs. And that's kind of how I lived that. I ended up having learning disabilities. I was not great at school. I was always pulled in to do special ed classes. I had untimed SATs. So school, it just had this negative feeling all the time that I was different. I was singled out because I'd be the one kid who was in the corner with a different teacher, very insecure. And my athletics, I became a cross country runner. I mountain biked, I water skied, everything I did athletically, people would comment on like, oh, you're so talented. You're very natural. So in my head, in any sport, I would just work so hard because that got me more gain, more attention. And school, I just really tried to get away from school as fast as I could and had a lot of doubt in that realm. So yeah, I definitely flourished in sports.
Yes, I guess success breeds success. And even as adults, we are vulnerable to that. But as kids, of course, if you find yourself being successful in one thing, then you double down on that thing
Yep.
because that just helps you. Um, I wanted to get a little bit of a peek into, okay, coming to the present, right? And I don't know how old you are, Wendy, but sometimes because I host this podcast, I feel emboldened to ask. Can you share how young you are at this point?
53.
Okay, 53 years young,
Mhm.
and you are still going after it. You are doing these sports. When we were exchanging messages, you had just completed mountain biking in Fruta. Can you talk a little bit about how your training, your ability to take care of yourself and keep performing, how that has also shifted? You were this hard charger in your 20s. Where are you today with your ability to keep going?
My ability to keep going is I've pulled back a little bit. I would say when I got to a certain point before I had kids, I was still having this guilt feeling if I didn't work out. Like if I didn't do a really hard bike ride, if I didn't do a really hard run, if I didn't do certain things, I would feel guilty all day. And so I still had this overhanging energy of that was just, I don't know, just a negative feeling if I didn't do what I thought an athlete, I still considered myself an athlete. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't go on a hard bike ride today. Like, ugh, how could I not? And it just was so ingrained. It's so hard to let go of these feelings that I thought to myself before I had kids. It's like, if I knew, well, one, I was afraid of gaining weight also. So, you know, it was this compulsion of eating little, gain, and working out. If I knew I wouldn't blow up to be, you know, really, really out of shape and in a different way, I would never work out again, is something I told myself because I wanted to get rid of this, um, just these negative thoughts all the time. So it turned out I got pregnant and I literally just, I was like, I'm going to get big. So I'm just going to let it happen. I walked a lot and stuff, and my body totally transformed, totally changed. And after I had my kids, I was so exhausted from the drain of this guilt that I always put on myself that I took a few years off actually of not working out very much, um, just because I was exhausted. Then, as my kids started getting a little bit older, all of a sudden I realized that I'm not in shape anymore. I'm like, oh my God, I just let it all go, which was fine. But then I thought to myself, I don't want my kids to see me this way. I want them to see me as the athlete that I was. So I started working out again. I started running, going to the gym, getting back in shape because I wanted to have my kids not see the Wendy that I was. You know, I didn't want to be like, your mom used to do this or your mom used to do that. No. The kids need to see me. Otherwise, so I got back into shape and I started working out again and going on bike rides and just with a new mindset around it, trying to let go of the guilt and more, you know, just gauging it differently. So I got really back into working out and felt great. And so now my kids are older, they're 19 and 17. And I'm kind of in a new path of I do work out. I go on casual runs with my girlfriends. I still mountain bike. I've never been hurt. So I've been hurt. I've had lots of ski crashes and water ski crashes and mountain bike crashes, but I've walked away from them all. I've never had knee surgery. I've only broken my thumbs. So that really surprises people. I maybe have a little back pain here and there. I do from traveling the last few days, but I don't have knee pain. I don't have hip pain. So I'm able to just get off the couch and go out and still do sports that I love. But I decided I wanted to do new things. I've been learning to dirt bike, which surprisingly I'm not that great at. I thought it would have been better. I'm learning to golf. And so that's been really fun and interesting. So I'm kind of in a stage where I'm still doing my sports. I still run, I still bike, I still go to the gym. I still do stomach routines and back routines because I think that's so important to keep your stomach and back strong. I feel like that's the foundation of everything else. But I definitely have let go of feeling like I need to get up at 6 in the morning and do it. I actually just have started to turn off my alarm. I would still have my alarm set every morning for 6:45 because if I did not at least get up by 6:45, I would feel guilty. And so I'm trying to learn to let go of the guilt because after all, I do tell myself I'm 53. I'm trying not to prove anything anymore. I've already done whatever it is that I was going to do. And now I need to learn to just this new chapter do sports that are new and different to me because I don't need to be the same athlete. And that's the great thing about being a skier. A skier was an athlete that was able to mountain bike, dirt bike, do other sports. Whereas basketball players or baseball players, you hear it, they have to sign a contract that they won't dirt bike, they won't ski, they won't do these other sports, right? But no, not a skier. We can do anything and everything because it's already dangerous. So I've got into skateboarding at one time, learned to ride a skateboard, which I was amazing. So I love being a changer. I love doing new things. I like new opportunities. I play pickleball a lot, especially with my 90-year-old parents. They are amazing. They're actually the true thing that I even talk to my kids about. I'm like, you need to look at your grandparents. 90 years old. My dad plays pickleball every morning and every afternoon. And he swears he would not be alive today if it wasn't for pickleball because he can't do anything else. And he can't really move. He can't run. He can't bike. He can't do all these other sports, but he can play pickleball. And he plays it every single day. He goes to pickleball camps. So that's been really cool to just see my parents still living very vibrant, active lives. So I hope to be like them. I don't necessarily need to be the best biker out there anymore or the best runner, which I used to. I used to try to win every bike ride, even casual bike ride, every run, always had to be in the front. And now I'm just trying to embrace it and get rid of the guilt still. So at 53, I'm still trying to get rid of the guilt. I'm letting myself maybe sleep into 7:30 and then get up in my day and get going. So yeah, that's the chapter I'm in right now. I don't want to let go of my athletics for sure. Keeping that mobility, staying healthy. Um, but I do like challenging myself with different sports.
Well, sounds like disciplined morning exercise can now sometimes be replaced by cappuccino therapy or fresh orange juice, and sounds like that's been a healthy change. And thanks for sharing this thing about your parents. Yes, sounds like you have some genetic gifts. It's remarkable given the type of sports you have and the level at which you have done them that, knock on wood, you haven't gotten injured. Any, maybe any routines or strategies, Wendy, with your physical training that we can learn from, on like things that you have doubled down on? You talked about like doing things for your core and your back, or others that can also help us either, keep injury away or maybe even recover from, yeah, debilities or injuries as we get older.
Yeah, I mean, stomach routines, stomach and back was ingrained to me back in when I was younger. High school, where I went to high school, we'd do stomach routines every day, and then I just always continue that. Even my ski racing, free skiing. I don't know. I just feel like it's the core, right? I mean, it is your core. And you hear people have back issues from weightlifting so much and this and that. And I just feel like, and I try to tell my kids, I'm like, if you just do 5 to 10 minutes a day on your stomach and back, that is, I feel like, the stability of that area. So whatever other sports you get into, um, that area, your back, it just takes a hit no matter what. So I wouldn't say I'm religious anymore about it. I definitely do it at least 3 days a week, where I used to do it every day for years and years and years. So I have that foundation. I definitely don't want to let it go. And, I, for many years, I had a routine where I worked out 3 days a week in the gym. I did not want to be lifting weights more than an hour. I'm like, if I'm in here for more than an hour, that's just too much. If I start to lift weights where I need a spotter, then I need a new routine. So I would have someone hire me and give me a new routine, and I would do that for a month. It involved lighter weights, but balancing kind of workouts, so some sort of squat or balancing routine so that you weren't lifting too many heavy weights. And then I would finish it off by doing intervals. So I'd get on the treadmill, and I suck at intervals. I was a snail. I was more of an endurance athlete growing up. So I'd get on a treadmill and I do 30 minutes of like a 5 minute warm up and a 5 minute cool down. But in between, I do like minute off, minute on intervals, just to be able to keep, so I'm not a stagnant pace. When you go running, a lot of times you just stay one pace. So I used to do that a long time. I mean, people would walk into the gym and come up to me and be like, Wendy, what are you training for? And I'd say, life. I'm like, do I have to have a purpose other than to stay healthy? So am I doing that right now? No, but I might pick it up again and start doing something like that. But just staying active. I definitely am in the point of my life of just staying active. I think, like I said, I've had a lot of ski crashes. A lot of people used to say I would look like a natural crasher. So in my mentality, when I was a skier, I did not have of course, I had fear, but in those contests that we would have, and of course, I'm trying to ski a hard line, a tight chute, possibly exposure of rocks, cliffs below you. So if you fell, you could definitely get injured. Or I try to find an air to hit, which is 15 to 30 feet, which I could get injured. And I would look at those opportunities and I would say to myself, I have not been injured yet. I have not blown out my knees. And I'm in a sport that is very common. So I think to myself, my day is going to come. I'm going to blow out my knee. I'm going to break a leg. Like, who hasn't in ski racing or dirt biking? Like, in these sports that are high risk, you get injured. And I don't want to say I haven't had crashes. I've had small injuries, but not the terms of, again, a broken leg or a cast or surgery. So I was always embracing it. It's going to happen. If I'm putting myself in these situations, it's going to happen. So that was always my mentality. And it still hasn't happened. So whether I was just open to it. Now, being on a dirt bike, I'm in a different mindset these days. I'm actually happier in life. And I feel like I do have a lot to lose. And I'm on this dirt bike and I have a lot of fear that I never felt in other sports. So it's kind of been different for me. I'm like, whoa. I used to talk about being fearless and being open-minded to situations, and I'm actually feeling this fear that I didn't feel before. So it's been a new, interesting sensation that I'm now working through at a different age. But yeah, but for many years, I just used to embrace that injuries are going to happen because that's the lifestyle I'm in. And whether that mentality has been to my benefit, and when I do crash, I'm kind of loose, or maybe it's just the mechanics and the genes that I was given.
Yeah, I mean, we get older and we feel more fragile, and you get hurt. Like I hurt my back a few weeks ago. I've never had. I guess I've had other injuries all over, but somehow I've never had like a back injury, and I kind of heard it exercising,
Mm-hmm.
and it really set me back mentally also because I'm like, oops, like there was this one part of my body that I had worked hard at and I thought was solid, and yeah, now it's like all of the body, like everything feels just that much more vulnerable. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've had to also refine your mindset. One thing that you talked about earlier is you still have this desire to push yourself. You've always had that, right? To push yourself and to win. How do you, Wendy? How do you reconcile that? Because you have changed over time. You are maybe not the person you were in your early 20s or even later when you are not in top form now. So, how are you able to find joy in your sports, given that you were this Wendy, now you're a different person?
Yeah. Now again, it's self-talk. I do a lot of self-talk. Like
Okay.
someone passes me on a bike ride. Like when I was in Fruit, I was biking with a girl, and some other people passed. I'm like, oh God, that's kind of new for me. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. I'm allowed to be passed. I'm 53, God damn it. So I'm like, but the thing is I don't feel it. So I don't feel like I'm older. I still feel young. But I also have to look back that like I'm not keeping the maintenance up that I used to, and I need to be nicer to myself. And so yeah, it's just a different conversation of embracing that I'm allowed to slack off a little bit here and there, and just find the joy in getting out and exercising, but not necessarily need to take it to the level that I need to be winning or be, in the leader pack. And yeah, and like skinning, I used to backcountry ski all the time. I used to be the one who broke trail for even the guys. Now I'm just okay that I'm not that person. And again, I already know I have to think about how I've already lived a very fulfilled life. And even powder
Like,
ski.
how do you draw that line, Wendy, between pushing yourself and protecting yourself?
Um, well, I mean, I guess it just naturally happens. If I'm not into top form anymore, it naturally gets drawn for me, right? And again, it's just a mindset. Like, I don't need to feel guilty or bummed out that I'm at this age where I don't need to feel like I need to prove anything for anyone anymore, which I did. I felt like I had to prove a lot when I was younger, and that's the nice thing about maturing and having more confidence in yourself and not feeling like you need to do anything, have any expectations for other people. You don't need to get to their level. Like, a lot of times you put expectations on yourself because you think other people are putting expectations on you, or thoughts about you. Really, now I don't really care anymore. Where before, that is what drove me. It drove me
Sure.
trying to make people, be up to their standards of, because I already created this level for me. So when you start to drop down and other people still hold you to that level, that's where you're constantly trying to upswing back to what you think. And again, people might not even really care, but it's really what you think people are thinking.
Right.
Once you let go of what other people are thinking and you just start taking care of yourself and what you feel is accomplishment to yourself, then it eases up on the guilty. And it's taken years. I mean, it's taken years and years and years for me to not feel really guilty about not being who I was before. It's I'm feeling less guilty that I'm actually not getting up before 6:30, 6:45 anymore. Um, I'm trying to release all that stuff that I've been holding on up to this point. You start to develop so much baggage when you're younger of what you think life should be like, or your life should be like. And a lot of it is based on what you think other people think your life should be like. It's just, I feel like as you get older, it's releasing and stepping away from all these expectations, baggage that you created yourself, because you're the one who did it, no one else, to then hopefully live. I'm hoping to live my next chapter a little less stressful, having these expectations that I've put on myself that were unnecessary.
Talking of next chapter, Wendy, do you think your best years are behind you or ahead of you?
Um, I mean, even though the years behind me were rough, I made it hard on myself. Those were good years. I mean, I don't know how in my future I'm going to top, heli skiing around the world with some of the best male athletes out there, like a Seth Morrison and Shane McConkey, and filming with Matchstick and being in the middle of nowhere in remote areas. I mean, I can't top that. I just don't think I'll be able to top that. Going to the Olympics and skiing with high level skiers, working my ass off. My years ahead of me are just going to be different best years. Years ahead of me are just going to be different best years, different parts of the world, skiing in mountains. I did a car race with a girlfriend, a rally, and still does. How I hope to keep going. I hope I have the health, the mindset, the finances to just keep adventuring, even if it's not ski related, because I've based my whole life on skiing, and I've had a lot of powder days, which have been amazing, but that doesn't necessarily need to be my drive for the next chapter. It might be going to really cool golf courses around the world. I don't know, or different hikes with girlfriends in different locations. So I'm just an open book. I don't plan. I'm not a planner. I'm not a goal setter. I am a day by day kind of person. So tomorrow something new and different could surprise me that takes me on a whole different avenue. So I'm very open to just ideas and changes.
One thing I love about picking up like a new sport or a new hobby where I don't have any background and I'm a total novice is that one can only get better, you know? So like I feel like mountain biking is that sport for me because I'm such a total kook that I only get better every time I go biking. And I
Mhm.
think I think as humans we love progress and we love learning new things, and you start something new and you can kind of find that
Mhm.
same zest for growth. You have two kids, I think two boys,
Mhm.
both athletes. What might be a couple of specific ways you are raising them to allow them to prosper as both athletes and as healthy individuals, maybe from the lessons you have learned?
Mhm. Well, I'm super honest with them. I mean, I tell them my diet when I was a young kid. I ate nothing but junk and I loved it. I tried to raise my kids healthy and keep them away from all that stuff. But then I got to a point where I was like, we're all allowed to make our own dietary choices. I've introduced them to very healthy eating. I also have been open to them eating unhealthy. And then, eventually you decide the path you're going to want to make. So I wasn't super strict in that. We're very open and talk about drugs and alcohol because it's very prevalent in this era. They both went away to school to different types of skiing academies. My oldest went away to a school in France called Apex 2100, and it's just for ski racing. My younger son goes to a school in Oregon called White East, and it focuses on slope style. And, I tell them that they're very lucky to be able to go to these schools. I know tons of people tell me all the time because I tell parents, I said, told my kids, no trouble, no drugs, no alcohol, no mischief. And everyone tells me, but that's high school. And I went away to a ski academy and I told them I did not do any of that. Didn't even phase me. I focused on being a ski racer. I just was not that type of kid. And so, when I get resistance from parents who tell me, "Oh, Wendy, that's not going to happen." I'm like, "It is going to happen." And I talk to my kids every year, maybe 3 times a year, and I tell them the same thing. I'm like, "You're going to the school for a reason. You have told me you want to be an athlete. You want to be a top ski racer, a top slope style skier. I will support that 100%. I will do whatever it takes to help you along this path of yours if you commit to it and show me that you're serious, which means training, physical fitness." And so like I said, I worked on my physical fitness again because I wanted my kids to see that I am an athlete. And so I'd go on bike rides with them. I would take them running. I would do intervals with them. I go to the gym with them. So I showed them that I'm still involved in this path. And then when they went to school, I said, your school does not want you to drink, does not want you to do drugs, and you want to be this athlete. Again, I brought it up earlier. You have this window to be an athlete, and then it's gone. You can't go back. You can't reverse. It's not like becoming a lawyer or a doctor where you can go keep studying and get into a different program and keep progressing in your career. Athletes have a time slot that they're done, whether it's injuries or just natural clock time out. So I'm like, you have this window. If that's what you want to be, I support it. But if you get caught doing something at school, then, time and place. Come home. You can have some drinks with your friends. We can have drinks in a safe environment. Um, so it's not like I'm super strict. I'm not a strict parent, just time and place. Doing that at your school when you have a scholarship, when you are have this focus, that's not the time or place. But if you will come home and you have friends around, I don't mind if you guys have drinks together. We're in a safe environment. So that's how I've raised my kids. Like, I'm here, I'm going to support you. You just have to show that you're really serious about it. And they've been awesome. My oldest son graduated. He has had a great ski race season. He went to the World Juniors in Italy. He's 19 and, he's was close to making the ski team. He's training with them right now. So yeah, I'm like, and they know it. So they know I'm serious. I'm like, if you mess up, I'm going to be pissed. I did it. You can do it. And my youngest son, same thing. So he's learning new tricks. He's, loves the school that he's going to. And I'm like, if you love the school you're going to, then don't mess up. So both boys have stayed on that path. And so when parents tell me that, oh, it can't be done, kids just want to drink, they want to have mischief in school or do whatever. I'm like, no, if you talk to your kids enough and you are just super honest, I'm honest about my mistakes that I've made in my life and
Mm.
all that stuff. I'm pretty honest to my kids.
Well, congratulations on raising these two. Sounds like intelligent athletes, and I hope they also know how lucky they are for this balanced upbringing and inspiration they are getting from you. You've also mentored young athletes, from what I know, like through your coaching and otherwise. If you could go back and speak to your younger self,
Mhm.
somebody like this teenage person who's struggling with pressure and perfectionism and maybe body image, what would you want her to hear?
The same thing that I've been telling, like I tell my kids that, you know, well, what happened, one of the reasons I got an eating disorder was in high school, kids are just can be mean. Not all kids, but things are said. That's when you're very impressionable. One, having witnessing my brother's death was definitely left a scar mentally. But then, as I got older, I'd hear boys comment on other girls' body images changing and how they're getting bigger. And I mean, we're ski racers. We're basically trying to develop a sprinter's body, not a long distant runner's body. And I had a long distance runner's body. I was very petite, very skinny. Um, and so when I went to the ski academy, we're starting to develop more muscles. We're working out all the time. Girls' bodies were changing, and some were changing sooner than mine. And they were getting bigger. And I'd hear boys like comment on, "Oh, look at so and so, they're getting big." And it's not like, I mean, obviously, I listened and I knew they weren't being the nicest, but I wasn't really thinking I was taking it in that much. And then because I had a really high metabolism and we worked out 3 or 4 times a day, one day I was a sophomore, I think, in high school, and I had lunch at my dinner, and I had 4 scoops of ice cream, tons of garlic bread, huge plate of pasta, and I just ate like a monster. I mean, I just ate so much food, and I ate all day long. But I sat down, and these older girls came by and sat next to me, and they said, "Wendy, we're going to sit here and make sure you eat everything." And I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." Like, I'm super stoked to eat everything. Like, "We're going to sit here and watch you and just make sure." I'm like, "Okay." And they're like, "And you just wait, Wendy. You just wait someday."
Oh my gosh,
And I'm like,
wow.
"Okay, I know they're being mean." But I just didn't really realize, the effects of it. So then after I left high school, I still was petite, and I went back home to California. We were really big into water skiing, my brother and I. I moved to Sacramento to be with him to water ski. And my dad's like, "We need to find Wendy a trainer here." And my brother's like, "Oh, well, the Sacramento Kings. I mean, there's an NBA basketball team here." So my dad went to their trainer and asked if I could work out with them. So I was this, 5'6" girl showing up to the gym at the Arco Arena in Sacramento with all these professional basketball players who were 6 foot plus. And my training turned from running 2 to 6 miles every morning to playing soccer for an hour in the afternoon to plyometrics or intervals or some other training to really like an hour and a half of workout in the morning. And it was similar to CrossFit, where it became heavy, heavy lifting, power lifting, and I still ate a lot. And guess what? I ended up putting on like 25 pounds in 2 months. I was the strongest I ever was. I went and won
Whoa.
nationals that year. I mean, I made the Olympics. It transformed my life for the better as an athlete. But mentally, all of a sudden, those girls came into my head, the boys came into my head. I'm a my clothes weren't fitting the same. I was super strong, but I just had a negative reaction to this growth that I had. And even though it was athletically for the better and I was performing at a whole new level, my brain went to, this isn't, I don't feel like I fit in anymore. And like naturally, I went to my next ski camp, stepped on the scale because the coaches had us weigh in, and my coaches were psyched. They were like, "Oh my God, awesome job, Wendy." And I looked at the number, and instead of agreeing with them, I was like, "I'm done eating, and I wanted to get back to working out all the time like I did as a high school student. And I'm like, I'm done eating, and I'm going to work out all the time." And that day, what became the spiral down of my mental psyche, I guess. And so if I was to look back, I would want to tell, and this is why I tell people. And when I went and mentored at my older son's school, the school asked me to mentor the girls because they were going through eating things, they were going through body image things. And I said, who do you want to be? Do you want to be a professional athlete? Like, is skiing that important to you? Do you want to become a top skier? Because if you do, your body's going to change. It's going to change shape, maybe not how you want it, but that's not the goal. And then, now I'm petite again. I'm much smaller than that era. I'm like, your body, you can transform your body. You can change it to what you want to be. So who do you want to be now? If you want to be this top athlete, well, you might be bigger because you're a ski racer and that's the sport that you picked in. And back then, we didn't have Serena Williams. We didn't have, these other athletes who have embraced a different body shape to become the best in the world. I wish I had that mentoring of being like, you look at rugby players. I mean, those girls are big and strong, and everybody's shape is different. We all have different heritages that your body develops in a different way. So you taking on muscle or eating certain foods, your body can change different than someone else's. So, really to try not to compare yourself to anyone else. You just need to compare yourself on, are you working out hard? Are you doing the right things to better yourself for this path that you want? Which also means taking care of yourself mentally and confiding in people and stuff. I kept everything inside, but it's really hard, and it's not maybe talking to friends because you don't want to put that burden on friends all the time. It's finding professional help in people who really believe in you. And that's how I made the Olympics. I had my B team coach saw me just sucking. I was skiing so bad. I could barely finish a course. And it was the Olympic year. And I never thought about the Olympics. My mentality was, if I work hard, train hard, keep putting effort in, I'm going to get better. And if I keep getting better, I'll get better. And who knows where that will take me. So that was my attitude, is not looking to be an Olympian, but looking just to be a better athlete every day and putting the grind into it. So he saw my ski performance, and one day he pulled me aside and said, "Wendy, the way you're skiing, you're not going to make the Olympics, so stop thinking about it." And it was like he just pulled a dagger out of my chest. I could breathe again. I was like, oh my God, I'm trying to make it for this reason, that reason, but I'm trying to tell myself I don't care. But really, I was just choking myself. And 2 days later, he had it at this meeting, said, "Girls, to go to the next World Cup race, you must get a top 3 and no exceptions. We're not going to do a gimme if you get a, fourth place." So 2 days later, I was very distracted at the start for various reasons, but I got in the starting gate and I won the run. So I went barely getting top 60 to winning the run. I got second overall that day, got sent to the next World Cup, started in the 50s, got 13th, got named to the Olympic team. So I'm not saying like you need to find the most expensive therapist out there, but if you are going through things, it's finding someone who is a great mentor or knows you really well. I feel like just seeing a generic therapist or psychologist who's just going by the textbook. I mean, this coach was with me day in and day out. He knew my mannerisms. He knew my brain was being scrambled. So that was very, very powerful for me to realize someone was there and had that much care. And again, I would go to the A team coach. he did not know me. He did not know how to capture that. So that was one of my other battles. And also to tell the younger self is if it doesn't work out, there's other avenues in life, you know? So
Yes.
we just, I think when you're younger, you just, you're compacting so much information in that you think life is supposed to be like, and you're trying to crunch it in and be perfect. And sometimes that's not the perfect way, but luckily I've been able to learn that. So yeah, look back, body image, your body needs to be a certain way for a certain time if you want success.
Wouldn't it be awesome if we had the wisdom of our current years
Mm-hmm.
into our mind and psyche of our years back in our teens and our 20s? And the power of having the right mentors cannot be overstated. And and this other insight I think which you shared, which is so
Yeah.
key, is also role models, finding the right ones for oneself. And you're right, maybe back then athletes, maybe particularly women athletes, did not have those kinds of role models to provide that positive North Star. And fortunately, that has changed now. People have the allowance to maybe go in different paths and different styles. Wendy, we're running out of time. I should let you go. Final question for you, which is, and I asked this from everybody on the podcast, which is, what does being ageless mean to you?
Oh boy. That still anything is possible, there's, um, yeah, you still can do anything. You can still be playing pickleball at 90, So yeah, I'm not done living just because I'm in my 50s now. Definitely not. Still exploring, still adventuring, still living life to the fullest.
A very powerful lesson and a metaphor to end this podcast with. I'm already a fan of your parents. I don't play pickleball today, but I probably will take a pickleball in another couple of decades.
Yeah.
Wendy, thank you so much for coming on the show this morning.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. And I listened to a bunch of your other past interviews, and they're really inspiring and interesting to listen to. Yeah, because you usually hear about current athletes and not past athletes that are still, being influential and passing on information.
That's it, folks. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Ageless Athlete Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this show just as much as I enjoyed creating and producing it. Whether you are an athlete looking to push your limits or someone striving to maintain a healthy, active lifestyle as you age, there is always something new to learn. From Ageless Athlete, we bring you a fresh episode each and every week. If you liked what you heard, we would love it if you would take a moment to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an update. And if you really liked what you heard, please leave us a review, crush those 5 stars on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever else you listen to your podcasts. It helps us reach more people who are passionate about staying strong and resilient, no matter their age. Don't forget to visit our website and leave your email so I can send you occasional insights, stories, and tips to keep you inspired and motivated on your journey. You can also follow us on Instagram at Ageless Athlete Podcast and on YouTube at Ageless Athlete Podcast as well for even more great content. All of these links are available on the show notes for this episode. This show is entirely produced by me, Kush Khandelwal, based out of California with the help of my trusted adventure pup Roger. Until next time, keep challenging yourself, keep pushing those limits, stay mentally and physically fit, continue doing what you love to do, and my friends, stay ageless. Friends, this is not an ad. This is just a quick message to those amongst us who are listening to Ageless Athlete podcast for the first time. I would love it if you would hit subscribe and follow on your favorite podcast app, whether it's Apple Podcast or Spotify or Stitcher or Overcast or what have you. We bring you stories and routines and other inspiration from elites in the world of the best outdoor sports. In each episode, you will find how these athletes stay connected to the outdoors, maintain peak performance, and continue to thrive as they age. I encourage you to look through prior episodes and listen to a couple and see if they resonate. And then, come back next week. We release an episode each week. And I am really inspired to bring you some of the best stories from the world of the outdoors. Okay, back to the show.